Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be doing a tier list. I haven't done one of these in a hot minute for the channel. So I did a bunch of Yokai Watch No Befriending challenges off stream, and I figured either I'm going to make the actual numbered format for this later, but I figured I want to talk about them now while I'm still fresh, while they're still fresh or semi fresh on the mind. So pretty much every single yokai here is an auto befriend in some shape or form. Now, granted, I didn't fully complete two. I'll be transparent about this, but I have enough knowledge on that game just from my countless times playing it. I can make valid points and claims for every single yokai here. And also, some of these guys are some of the guys in Yokai Watch 2 are version exclusives, and we'll cover them when we get there. So going over the tiers, we have the goats. Pretty good overall. Good for certain parts of the game. Alright, but there is better. They're better off as souls. Why would you ever use them? For exclusives, and I didn't get them, and I have not used them outside of the run, and I have no input on them. Let's just get those four out of the way. I made that just for some tiers in Yokai Watch 3. It's mainly going to be Unfairy, Master Nyata, and Tomyon, and the Coma Nomads. They generally Nomads and Tomyon are once a day encounters, and the other two are giant fact quests that I just really don't want to deal with. And this isn't really in any particular order. It's just how it is. So let's start with Yokai Watch 1. Frostina. Overall, I think she's one of the goats. Blizzard, even as a B rank yokai, she scales really well after you're able to get her quest to unlock her. Her quest is done by the lady who runs the snack shop. I don't remember her name. It's been a hot second, but she as Frostina, she's really good. You scale that with being able to evolve her in after you beat the game and get the S rank watch with the Blizzardia quest. She funnels really well, and I think another one that falls under that exact same category is actually Draggy. I think Draggy is one of the goats of Yokai Watch 1, because in this game where the final boss does pretty much nothing but in spirit, you need to be able to either purify your fast or just not be affected by them in general. So I think for Yokai Watch 1, Draggy is probably very much so a necessity to even beat the game. And just covering over the Slippery Tribe now, the other is Venoct. Venoct, besides being the first S rank you get, is generally really strong for this point in the game. And I have very positive things to say about Venoct over Ichi's inquiry, so I figured just to bring him up, talk about him now. Draggy, single-handedly is he's like Frostina in a way. You get him at the end of the section with Madaman. Well, actually, in the earlier section of Madaman, he doesn't really do well into Madaman per se, but he does really well in McCracken's second phase in particular, because that he does nothing but spam in spirit. So just being able to not have to deal, because you get Vanoct at this point as well. You have him together, you get the Silver Try bonus. You only have to worry about that one spot. It's crazy. Wait, I'm gonna actually add another tier. We're gonna add good for the context behind them. Now this tier, I made this tier in particular for one yokai, and that one yokai as I'm thinking about this is Tattletale in Yokai Watch 1. Tattletale is the only healer you get through auto befriends in the very first Yokai Watch game, and she does not scale well. To the point where I say she gets power cut by food. That's not something you want to be known for. You get her pretty early on. She is a consistent source of healing throughout the early into kind of the mid game, but you can really see where she falls off after in the game. And you can't evolve her. we'll talk about Yokai Watch 2, Tattletale, and the ethics behind her. But you cannot evolve her in Yokai Watch 1 unless you have the other half of the fusion. And, like, that is not good. Like, in my opinion, that is horrible design. Why even do that? I think Ruffraff and Mangima are the exact same way, which they suck in the first game. I mean, Ruffraff is fine because like it's Ruffraff. We'll get like just Ruffraff on his own. He's really decent, but what's that? Why would you use him? Like, I'm sorry. I like him. I think he's funny. You get him during the auto during you get access to downtown Springdale for the first time, but like he isn't good per se. He is quite literally mid. Like he's E rank at this point. You're probably at C or B rank watch, if my memory serves correct. I could just be saying wrong information. That's fine, but quite literally, he does not provide value across any sort of the word. He is a dead weight, and yeah, I can't really be nice to him. Dromp, honestly, pretty good overall. I'm not gonna say like the goats because you don't get him until after you have unlocked the Infinite Inferno. But like generally, he is a really good wall. You're able to use him because like you can make it so people want to go attack him more. You compare him with Tattletale. It's not the greatest defense in the world, but like it's a defense still. You can also pair him with two attackers and then focus on healing the one. But like that's what tough yokai kind of do best. They kind of just exist, and it's your problem. Okay, why would you ever want to use Babylon? Like, he's slippery, yes, but like generally he provides nothing at the point you get him, because like you get him relatively late into the game. At this point, you already have a team that you like. You already have Yokai that's probably better. So like, why would you even want to use him? There's no reason to. Absolutely none. Dismeralda. Good for certain parts. You get her like during the first chapter, later, like one of the first couple chapters. I'm like, she's a D rank yokai. You get her pretty early on. I think she scales really well. Another yokai that kind of does that is Boohoo. Boohoo falls off relatively early, but it's fine. Ooh, another one part of the disappointment club. Another two for the disappointment club. Lodo and Chatterley. People don't realize I doubt people's gonna realize that Chatterley's an auto befriend. I don't remember her quest, but you get a quest for her. Her and Chanson. It's really funny. And speaking of Chanson, alright, but there's better. And the better is just a Berker. I'm just gonna make an X tier. The better, but not the better. The better to the alright. Zerberker is just kind of the better of the two. They're like, here's the thing, they're both brave, but Zerberker is like higher level. See, the reason that he's not pretty good overall is because of his skill damaging. And like, and also you can technically just run them both because they're both brave. You get benefit from the braveness. And I'm just not realizing how many charming yokai you get. Just like, oh, there's a few. Baku. This one is not really talking about Toad version. Yeah. Alright, there's better. Baku just isn't the greatest. I think if you want to have a drain user, I think it's Mirapo that's the better one. But even then, you're still not really want to be using Mirko. I honestly, the other two S ranks in the room, pretty good overall. And the reason they're only pretty good is I think there's one that does both their jobs a little bit better, and it's Komasan. You're able to get attached to this guy. He has an evolution. Granted, he's like one rank lower, but that doesn't fully matter when you just don't care. Uh, co-main single-handedly can do a lot of wonders. Like, for mages, I will always say co-main and Bozaria are two of the best in Yokai Watch 1, hands down. I think Bozaria is just a good yokai. That might be my bias showing. Chabanyan. Overall, yeah, pretty good. Chabanyan is like one of the only few yokai that can actually scale really well into the game. Like as people have done with the Yokai Watch Nuzlocke, Chabanyan does really well. Is there better options? Yes, but I think for Yokai Watch 1, you're in such a good spot. I actually moved tabs. Rattel, like why would you ever? Rattel is a fusion without having to deal with the consequences of fusion. Yes, but single-handedly, you have better yokai. With one of those yokai being the other two here, Kaden and Wakappa. Like, Kaden's good for some part of the games, but Wakappa is pretty good overall. Abak and Canable do pretty well. Canable, the reason that he's like not in pretty good overall is simply put it that his sword attacks just don't do anything. Like after you evolve him, like, he becomes a buffer, like a general buffer, which is fine. It's just like with limited options that you already have, you want to be running as much DPS as possible. Or stream Sergeant Broly, but we'll get to him later. But that's all of Yokai Watch 1 single-handedly. I don't think Yokai Watch 1 has the worst cast in the game. That's obviously Yokai Watch 2. Like, the only downside I would ever say about this game is just Tattletale. But, like, even then, she's still... You bring her to everything, so it's fine. The biggest... Alright, let's get them out of the way. Let's get the version exclusives. Slash choice yokai. The reason I'm putting in particular choice... The reason I'm acknowledging choice yokai is because stuff like Rough Raft, Tattletale, and Mangy Mutt fall under this category. And, like, Rough Raft's the obviously best one. Like, he would be on the higher tier. But it's the fact that you have that choice. And it's just not even that close of a deciding factor. But it is some other Vanok QB, Beetler Rhinogan, Total Dude, and Arachnus. Like, you see where this is going. SV, Snagjack, and Slimer. I realize I used the boss render for Slimermander. Oh, that's funny, actually. I'm not changing that. Who else is a version exclusive on this lineup? Oh, like a choice. Badignon, Thornion. Like, some of these yokai early on can make or break some runs. Mainly, Rough Raft and Badignon are two of the best yokai you get. Like, you get Badignon by D rank. Actually, early, like at the end, you get him during E rank and D rank. Like, you get him before Gutsy Bones. Like, even as like a thing. And like Rough Raft is your Selectakai. Oh yeah, there's also like the elf in the room that is Slice and Rice and Lion. Let's go over all of these. I think there's like there's not a correct option, but there's yokai that are better than others. Rough Raft single-handedly, bro is just that guy. If you're not picking Rough Raft, you're doing something wrong. Tattletale should never be an option for this game. Mangy Mutt should never be this option. The correct option of this choice is Rough Raft, hands down. The reason that Tattletale is never an option is that there's like an overabundance of healers in this game. You are required to get the Dancing Trio. You're required to get Predictable. You're required to get Hungramps. You are required to get Nomi. You're required to get so many of these other healers. Like, Tungus is also an option. Like, you're required to get so many healers. It's like, what's the point of getting another healer? You're already having an abundance. And as you'll see here in a little bit, the abundance is a bad thing. I think there's too many healers. Yokai Watch 3 does it the best. You have good healers, but you have really good healers. But you don't have an over quantity. You have just enough to get by and just function well. But anyways, Venok QB. I can rant about Venok being really good, hands down. Like, you'll see for Yokai Watch 3, he would also be up in the GOATs. Because Venok is just my GOAT. QB is always going to be a really good mage, no matter the context. Beat with Rhino and Rhinogan. You're not going to get their fusion items till post-game. Their fusions are pretty... Like, their evolved states are really good. Like, you're getting a good wall, you're getting a really good attacker. It's just like... You have to make that choice, and if you're not careful, you could lock yourself out of some other... Not really lock, but, like, just not have the greatest time. Children Arachnus. I have never used Arachnus personally. But Total Dude, on the other hand, he's a wall with all walls. Like, he's the definition of, I'm going to be here, and it's going to be your problem. And I think that's cool. SV Snaggerjack, Slimeamander. Never really used either one of these two personally. SV Snaggerjack is fine. Like, they're like shrinking down versions of bosses. And that's one. Badnyan Thornyan. The correct option is Badnyan. He just does so much damage. You're able to get I think you're able to get a top bell pretty early on. It's pretty good. Lion, Slice and Rice. I would always recommend doing this on Spectres. But I think starting in Bony Spirits and then progressing to Psychic Spectres is probably the better decision. Simply put it, you have access to the Lionheart as a free yokai. Lionheart is single-handedly one of the best early befriends you can get. He evolves really early, and single-handedly, he's an A rank. You're able to coast through the game with an A rank yokai. There's not exactly any brave yokai you can pair with him, but just having that big burst of damage is really good. Also, this game has a lot of games of yokai you are forced to befriend. And in all honesty, the Dancing Trio they're just better off. Dancing Trio and Flushback are the textbook definitions of they're better off as souls. In all honesty, Broken Umbrella goes in here too. Broken Umbrella is the definition of useless. Actually, I'm just going to make a tier ghost called Broken Umbrella because that guy is just bad. Broken Umbrella, bad. Textbook definition. Flashback kind of just does nothing. You get him for one mission during the iPhone section. Dancing Trio, you can get them pretty early on. I think the best healer across this entire thing is either Hinomi and Kelpa Cabana. A lot of these healers just don't, like, before post game doesn't really scale well. Hungrance, you need to get the love. The Spell, which you have to be at the rhythm game for. These yokai just are bad. Dromp, my good buddy, my good pal, pretty good overall. He's a textbook wall. I can't really rank him higher. He's just overall pretty good. I think my opinions on Baku is just the same here. Alright, just there's better. And that better is just still Mirapo. I don't think there's like a bad option between two. You want to drain. I guess Baku and 2 has the evolution, but like you're really only using that for pokes. And boss fights you can't really poke them all too much. Stuff like Total Dude Arachnus, yeah, you can poke them. Like go ham, but like pretty much one fight isn't gonna help. I mean, I guess there is like the wicked bosses, but like it's still like you're not really using it over other options. And like Mirapo isn't the best option, but like he's still an option. Heck, there's an even better option than Mirapo. It's called Miradox, which is just the evolution to Mirapo. It's crazy how that works. You heard him before. Sing Kada is definitely in the same boat as Kaden. By quite literally being the recolor. But like that's not bad. Like you're already taking inspiration from like a yokai that is good. And that's not bad. Not bad at all. Yokai Watch 2 Jibanyan is kind of on the same level as Yokai Watch 1 Jibanyan. You're not. I think that this is. He peaked in Yokai Watch 2. You're able to get him other soul twins by getting the other medals, which like, you can get some really good ones. You can also just make him blow up, which I think is funny. But overall, yeah, pretty well designed, pretty well done. Ache, one of the other forcibly required. Good for certain parts of the games. Pain, Ache, and Pain. Pain is really good. Generally, like one of the most effective walls for most game. Not because she did it. I think Mermaiden's pretty good. She's D rank, yes. But, you might have to, like, there's, like, a few fights that you might have to deal with in spirits. Having a Slipper Yokai is really good, nonetheless. Even though there's really not many Slipper Yokai options. I'm praising Slipper Yokai, but, like, they're not really showing me why I should praise them. Like, the only other option is Babylon. I mean, there's also Venoct, yes, but, yeah. Not I guess also Flashback and like I believe SV Snaggerjack, but like one's hypersensitive and one's an opera from that it doesn't scale well, unless you get the item to evolve Flashback. But it's just still they're better off as souls. Bushido. I'm gonna talk about Sprunk as well because they're kind of hand in hand. Good for certain parts, better to the alright. Bushido is required to evolve into Washogun to even get Sprunk. And I think that's really cool. Really well designed. How your introduction to boss yokai being able to be befriended is through the very first yokai you befriended outside Jibanyan. Like that's really smart for level 5 to do. Alright. Overconsumption of healers. The context behind them is pretty much it. There's single-handedly not a reason to pick one over the other. They're all just decently okay. I think out of all these, I do think Predictable is probably the best. And then also, like, maybe Tungus. Why would you ever use Nomi? I don't think High Nomi's scales that well either. You're better off just using Predictable or using Food. Harry Berry. Yeah, I guess. And Hunger Games is good for the context behind them. Well, actually, no. Certain part of the game, the better to the alright, and just I think Harry Berry's alright, and Yomi's just a why would you? No, I guess alright, but could be better. I don't want to disrespect too many of these guys by putting them. Why would you ever use them? Because like, why would you ever use these clowns? It's like, Swelton, another like one of those context matters. He's really good for early parts of the game. This is like your first introduction to walls outside of like rough graph, and I think that's funny. Faux Kappa, and I'm gonna loop Supyo in this because I think they're both pretty alright overall. Like Supyo is just wall Kappa, like just Abak on kind of crack. And Faux Kappa has a really good ability of making sure you know you're okay loaf on your watch. They're both really solid to have. Oh, just in general, Streak. This hurts me. Why would you ever use them? Their main job is to inspire. They're kind of like a Baku in this scenario, but like you get them so late. I think it's in post game again. Isoar is kind of in the same boat. It's like, why? If you're attempting Divine Paradise, which I haven't did, I think Wobblewalk is pretty good overall. I think Wobblewalk is just the definition of like he's just a guy who just does whatever he feels like. And we need to have a goat from Yokai Watch 2, and I think it has to be Palisol. Say we put it, it might be like a soul thing, but like if you're able to get him to defend a lot, you can 1v1 Kabuking with him. He's able to be that yokai. I do think it is just a soul thing, but like having a potentially in the 1v1 the hardest boss in the game, that deserves props. Okay. Going from the most disappointing roster to actually a decent roster overall. All right, let's talk about the better off the souls. Snaggly, T-Rex, Sing Kong. Who else goes in the spot? I generally think Popsicle belongs in the spot. I know Popsicle does really well, but just like, all right. Negativas, I think, are the only yokai I would actually consider from this game better off as souls. So you put it, you're forcefully out to befriend them. Snaggly is an interesting case where you need him for QT, which figure just talk about it now. Good for certain parts of the story. A lot of yokai will fall into this category because as you continue to progress in Yokai Watch 3, you will just keep getting better and better yokai. Some good yokai that will fall under this category, hands down, is Jibanyan, salty bacon, and Treacher being kind of like the good, the solid, the trio of this, in my opinion. Lower ranked yokai do not scale well into Yokai Watch 3 endgame. You need to have strong yokai to even attempt this, like any of this. And Yokai Watch 3 provides a lot of that relatively early on. And I think the only yokai that does scale really well, despite being a D rank yokai into late game Yokai Watch 3, is El Gutsa, which I think he's one of my goats. My opinion of this guy changed during this playthrough. Single-handedly, if you're able to keep racking out damage over 100, yeah, you deserve your spot, hands down. He does have an evolution to make him into the A rank El Gusto Grande, and honestly, let's put him also in the goats tier. Pair him with Sergeant Burley, you're able to do ludicrous amounts of damage. Yes, you do only get Sergeant Burley in like the second to last chapter in the game, but you have so many fights you have to do back to back. You have all the Mafia, like Ghoulfather family to deal with. You have Slackerjack Remix. You have Hoaxy Coaxy rematch. You have all the floors in Bada Bing Tower. You have the Nobot fight. You have Ghoulfather and Don Spiritsy. Like, you have all of those fights to prove yourself, and he does so well into that. And I guess also Destroy Unbelievable if you as well. Those are also fights you can do, along with the Nunchucky and Dr. Eraser. But single-handedly, he scales really well when paired with El Gusto. And keep in mind, I was running through these fights with just El Gutso at the time. He was not evolved, none of that. He was still just D rank El Gusto, and he was doing more damage on the team than like most of my other guys, hands down. And I know we talked about the quality of certain encounters for late game. And single-handedly, I think Yokai Watch 3 has the best selection of healers by far. With Mewtwo, Kowalanyan, Mugunyan, and the most interesting one of them all, the Buildinyan. Let me explain. And while I'm going to explain each one of these guys, I'm going to move them all up to pretty much. 3 of them are going to go goats, and I'm going to put Kowalanyan all right, just because of the context behind them. Mugunyan, you get pretty early on. You get him like around chapter 5. Single-handedly, godsend right there. This is like your case of paradise earlier. One of the 2 textbook definitions of paradise you get on Nate's side, along with me too. single-handedly these two can carry a run by themselves. I use them a lot in my post game stuff, just because Michu's able to heal two people at once, and Mukoyan is just able to buff people will also heal and then do ludicrous amounts of damage. Well, not really ludicrous, but still do good amount of damage. Just as that point. A rule I indicated in Yokai Watch 3 is I'm allowed to use Crank-a-kai and befriend cat yokai. Do any means necessary. I'm allowed to do any of that. Why? For the building yon. There was one fight that I was terrified for, being the Slackerjack fight. And single-handedly, Slackerjack's my least favorite boss in the game, hands down. And I didn't have ghosts this time like I did on my first playthrough, so I needed something to make sure I can survive it. And that something was the Originion, or I guess in this case the run Nekomata. And like even if I wasn't using him as like a exclusive healer, which I stopped doing halfway through the game if I realized he wants to punch the guy instead of use anything else like he's supposed to, I made him into one of my mages. And you are able to get really good attack attributes from later yokai you get. But you are able to get Eminion pretty relatively early on before the fight, so you're able to pass on Paradise to Originion. And the fourth of our three Paradise users is Kowalinion. I think he's pretty good overall. I don't use him personally, but like I know what this little goober can do. And also, he's another cat yokai, which means more stuff for Originion to pick up. And yeah, let's just go over the last three cats while on the topic of Originion, being Hoverinyan, Ultimate Robanyan, and Chocobonyan. Hands down, Ultimate Robanyan is a goat. There's gonna be a lot of goats from Yokai Watch 3 because single-handed, it's like the game. Like a lot of yokai can just prove themselves. Chocobonyan, all right, but there's better, and Hoverinyan is just better to all right. You get them both at the end of the game, pretty much, and just they're kind of lackluster. Like, you're not really going to be running the double brave tribe in later fights because like you need to have a decent wall, which why Ultimate Robanyan is in the goats. But honestly, they're not bad yokai by any means. It's just a lot of case in points. Not to be mean to Spewer, but like, why would you ever want to use him? You do his quest. You befriend him just for the helicopter. Helicopter segues into a lot of stuff in the game. Not really required, but it's really good to have. KJ, why? I just think like the other just why is just the in-journalist. These three are just like the kind of the low points of Yokai Watch 3, in my opinion. KJ, you don't get to like game to post game, and journalist just kind of doesn't do much on the team. You get him at level 1 at this point, and like that's not good. That's not good at all. But overall, pretty decent ones. Talk about the two healers that aren't Originion, being Waper and Cupisto. For certain parts of the game, Waper is really solid. Healing positive in spirit and a swordsman that provides that same in spirit. Cupisto, alright, but better. Popularity is not really a necessity in this run. So that skill goes out the window where it's normally like really beneficial. And even then, I want to have Shmoopy. That's kind of like the better yokai of the two. Pretty much the perfect introduction to the American yokai, Linguist, and by extension, Blazion. I think they do pretty well overall. One's a mage, one's a physical offensive. One can pair well with El Gasto Grande. on just El Gutso in general. And Languist is Languist. He just kind of burns people and gets away with it. All evil is he is kind of a case of why would you use him. Same thing with like Screech. It's in Spiritor you get way too late into the run to even like fully commit to it. Now I got beef with these two goobers, Komo-san and Komojiro. They bet the better to the alright. There's nothing about them that. Unlike Komo-san from the first game, this one has to have an item to evolve. An item that's locked to Jungle Hunter. You can just spend hours on end getting the Fisher Bugs necessary to evolve them. Or I guess also do Blaster's Tea, I guess. Now, granted, you need to get the same item for the watch later, but like, you're better off only going for one for the watch and just not using these two. There's better mages in this game. There's really better mages. Talking about them now. Blizzy, Unkind, and QB. Yet, we're segueing talking about QB again. These are both pretty good overall. I think Blizzy is another one of the goats, being Blizzaria. But Blizzaria retextured is the correct word for it. And, like, I do not mind this. Frosty is my favorite yokai, and the evolution is pretty much just an extension of that. So, the first buffer you get in the entire run, Kitty Lumbus. He alright, but there's definitely better. With the better being Sergeant Burley himself. I guess our general combaters are next, which is Usapion, Unkeen, and Venoc. Unkeen's pretty good. There's just better options. Venoc is the GOAT, and Usapion is also the GOAT. Usapion does have the tendency of being dropped during post-game, because, like, better option just kind of does well. Venoc is fast, able to make other yokai more faster, slippery, so kind of can get away with some things. Slippery being good in this game because you really only have access to two, with Venoc being one and the original being the other, and they have the best of the yokai blaster, best bullet of the bunch, being the only ones that can just lock it on your current location. Unkeen, if you've been hit by him a lot during his boss fight too, kind of just it's the same thing here. And the two defenders that I didn't exactly use, but like context clues of them just being tanks. Yeah, just certain parts of the game. Actually, no, you get them pretty much. I'll put the rest of the last of the three wickets I got in the same tier, and Total Dude is Total Dude. Both really good walls. Tough yokai are pretty much pretty important, and the Wicked Tribe is fine, just not my cup of tea. But that is everything. This is going to be a short video. Probably going to be posting this eventually. I wanted just to run this video out there, just to have it, put my opinions out. I will probably reorganize this off stream, just by how I personally think each one of them is, in pairing certain yokai together if they're in the exact same, if multiple of them are in the exact same tier. But there will be a big ranking video for all of this. I promise you, where some of the pretty much everything gets better than Broken Umbrella, including these four. They instantly get the pass of being better than Broken Umbrella because, like, they're really good yokai, just they're locked behind really stupid measures. And Broken Umbrella is just bad. But until that video comes around, so long. Farewell. Be the same. See you next time.